This video is brought to you by my generous supporters on Patreon, especially the first patron to ever support me, Sherbet. He somehow found the page before I even made an announcement. Which, by the way, if you want to support me and get a shout out in one of my videos, head on over to patreon.com/JosiahHerring. That's patreon.com/JosiahHerring. Big Time Rush is back. On July 19th, 2021, they announced their comeback, and within 3 days, both shows were sold out. This came as no surprise to fans, seeing as people have been clamoring for a comeback since they first split in 2014. In that time, the group had done small things here and there, even covering some of their old songs as a way to spread love during the harsh times that 2020 presented us with. But while them selling out was to be expected, the fact that they reunited at all was almost a shock to some. The band split on good terms, and they even collabed together on solo projects. But the Big Time Rush brand name carried around a lot of stigma, and not all of them wanted to bring it back. While Kendall, James, and Carlos had spoken in interviews about how they'd love to perform together again, Logan always seemed a bit more reclusive. Whenever Logan was asked about a possible BTR comeback, he would always say he was interested in spending more time with the guys, but always made it clear it wasn't really much more than that.
I'd be down to get together and see those guys anytime. They're like brothers. Yeah, absolutely. Like a little visit from our busy schedules, have everybody come together, get some good dinner, and yeah, that'd be fun.
But by digging a little deeper, we can see that the reason Logan lacked interest in a comeback was, more than likely, tied to how he was perceived as part of the group. That being said, he has never spoken on the topic himself, so take everything I say with a grain of salt, as it's all taken from interviews with the other guys.
On the TV show, I was the vain one, so I think people even took a little bit of the characters. Like, you know, Logan hated that he was the nerdy one of the TV show, and in real life, he was like, don't call me nerdy.
Logan took a lot of steps to try and separate himself from the character he played, changing his look and even his speaking patterns to try and come off as different as possible. So it stands to reason that when asked to return to a character that he had been actively trying to separate himself from for years, he'd be a bit worried about his new image being forgotten about in favor of a character he signed on to play when he was only 17. It's scary to have your identity tied to something bigger than yourself. While at first it's great, you're sharing your art with the world, you begin to wonder, do people even like me? Or are people only engaged because of what I'm doing? And if I were to do something different, people still care? Would I be forgotten? Am I stuck doing this for the rest of my life? This fear of rejection has the power to keep a lot of artists up all night. The fear that if you keep doing what's popular, you'll get sick of it. You might start to lose passion for what you're making. But if you take a risk and do something fresh to keep your interests secured, you might lose the interest of those who have supported you so far. You begin to wonder, are people fans of you? Or what you can produce? The year was 2020. After seeing moderate success in a video talking about Big Time Rush, I decided to capitalize on it by dedicating the entire month of November to talking about the show. While the idea initially seemed like a flop, it took until February 2021 to start seeing the results. All of a sudden, my channel started taking off, getting up to 50 subscribers a month. It was so surreal. I was filled with a rush of ideas. Different video ideas involving the weird history of Lego and Pokemon, crossing the canons between my favorite franchises, or talking about fan theories that have for the most part been overlooked by a lot of people. But then, it started to become a little too much. All of a sudden, these numbers I was receiving were becoming less of an influence and more of an overwhelming presence looming over me. And the longer it took to put something out, the more I felt like there was an expectation I had to uphold. After all, the longer something takes, the longer you have to wait. The better the payoff should be, right? And then, the feeling evolved. I began to feel like no matter what I put out, it would be a disappointment. And the last thing I wanted to do was disappoint people, let alone hundreds of people waiting for something great. I tried constantly again and again to get in front of that camera and record something, but the fear that it wouldn't be good enough hung over me like a chandelier on its last thread. Group that with the fact that the majority of my subscribers found me through my Big Time Month videos, and I started to ask myself, would people even care? If I released a video about Spider-Man being transgender, or if Marvel and DC were in the same universe, would that stuff even interest my audience? Or should I just stick to what works? To be pigeonholed is to be assigned to a particular category or class, especially in a manner that is too rigid or exclusive. The pigeonhole effect is something that can affect anybody. Put simply, it's just the feeling of being stuck. It could be as simple as being scared you'll be working the same minimum wage job until you're in your 40s, or the sense of cabin fever you get from living in the same small town your entire life. It's not necessarily that you dislike what you do or where you live. It's the fear that it's the only thing you'll do or the only place you'll live. These fears can lead to a multitude of emotions. Depression, anxiety, a lack of sleep, the inability to concentrate, and overall, confusion. After Big Time Rush disbanded and the show ended in 2014, Logan took a break from the limelight for 3 long years.
And so as a group, what's next for you guys?
What is next for us as a group?
We got off a tour not too long ago.
Yeah, I'm doing traveling. I know these guys are doing a little bit of traveling, and
I mean, now's the first time in the past 6 years or so that we have the option to do our own things.
It took a while. I think that's why it took me so long to kind of like get started back with just music. I needed to kind of like decompress and kind of go, find yourself a little bit, because it was a lot of work.
While he still made the occasional red carpet appearance, he mostly stayed out of the public eye, choosing to focus on his private life, and taking time to figure out how he wanted to present himself moving forward. In his own words, he felt numb coming off the back of BTR and really wanted to make something that would help him feel, and allow other people to feel as a result. And after some soul searching, he released the song Bite My Tongue, a song about wishing you could have your own voice, that you could be someone other than what people expect. Eventually, the stress of not knowing what to make was affecting me in my personal life. I'd sit in front of a computer screen for hours trying to write a video I thought would bomb if I released it. I was lashing out, I was harsh to people I shouldn't have been, and I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. I kept pushing myself to find a solution, but nothing was working. I even tried to put a deadline on myself to release another Big Time Month season, but that just led to me being overstressed and growing animosity for the project, which is something I didn't want. I was starting to lash out even more, and my relationships with my girlfriend, my family, and even my work were dissolving as a result.
What is your motivation at the end of the day? Because, I mean, were you okay with being silent for a minute?
Absolutely, yeah.
What do you learn about yourself during that silent moment?
I don't know. I think after we got done, there's like a little kind of sense of, feeling a little numb. And I was like, I want to make records that make me feel and in turn make everybody else feel.
So I took a break. I gave myself a silent moment. And I came to the epiphany that if I have to force myself to work on videos, are they even worth writing?
I think at the first couple years of it was just like, I want to make sure everything's perfect. Art's never gonna be perfect. Have fun, like goof off.
I don't really want to go.
Instead of being forced to go in,
Yeah,
you
don't
have to
force
have a song
anything.
done.
That's whenever the music starts to become a chore, and it should never be like that. It's a gift, So do it when the time is right.
It's funny. Growing up, I always wanted to be like Kendall. But I see now, I only wanted to be like the character of Kendall. And now that I am grown up, I see that I'm more like Logan. And I'm okay with that. I think I'm gonna keep creating for myself. And I hope a lot of you will continue to stick around regardless of what I make. And if you don't, that's okay. Nothing says you have to like every little thing I make. So to everyone who joined because of Big Time Month, I just want to say thank you for all your support. And I hope that you continue to think that I'm worthy of your support in the future. And to those who joined because of this video, might be a little confused as to who I am and what I do. Hiya! I'm Josiah Herring. And this is my channel where I make videos about stuff that just interests me. If you liked the video, feel free to leave it a like, and maybe even subscribe. Nothing says you have to subscribe, but if you don't, I'm gonna be okay. Huge shout out to my first patron ever, and the one who managed to find it before I even made an announcement about it, Sherbet. If you'd like a piece of custom art like this, then head over to patreon.com/JosiahHerring and see which tier would suit you the best.